Discover the amazing journey of self-worth, a touching story revealing life-changing truths, in a small Midwest town, where the sky turned as gray as the struggles of its people. 17-year-old Jake felt like a ghost in his own life. He floated through the halls of his high school, often overlooked, wrestling with the burdens his family carried. His father, a proud veteran, wrestled silently with demons, bringing a cold chill into their home. His mother, working 2 jobs, pushed through exhaustion daily just to keep food on the table. Jake watched it all from the sidelines, his heart heavy with the weight of expectations that felt like an anchor pulling him down. With scholarship deadlines looming, Jake felt a sickening urgency, a desperate fight against time where every moment felt like a sprint. In a town where parents talked about Ivy League connections over coffee, his classmate David spat, "Success is all about connections," as if Jake's dreams were mere illusions. It stung like a slap, igniting a fire within him. He yearned not just for escape, but to prove his worth. But then, a storm brewed on the horizon. News hit that the community center, a beacon of hope for so many kids, was facing closure. It was the lifeblood of their town. Shutdown meant devastation. Jake's heart raced as he gathered his friends in the dim light of his basement. They brainstormed ideas, throwing out every wild thought until they finally decided, a fundraising event. It was a spark, a flicker of hope in the face of adversity. Yet, as they worked tirelessly, they were met with resistance. The sneers of the wealthy kids echoed in their ears. Jake could feel the bitter bite of social prejudice. The road ahead was filled with obstacles thick and heavy. Tension tightened between Jake and his father. The latter's struggles blurred his perspective on the community center's significance to Jake. One afternoon, angry words flew between them like daggers, threatening to sever the fragile threads of their relationship. "You never see what matters, do you?" Jake shouted. Storming out, he felt alone, lost in the weight of their struggles, harder now than before. Just as he contemplated giving up, fate intervened. Old military friends of his father stepped forward, rallying to support the community center. The town came alive in response, an unexpected wave of kindness that washed over the negativity. The realization hit Jake hard: their unity was their strength, a quilt stitched together with love and resilience. As the day of the fundraising event approached, excitement thrummed in the air. The gym would be filled with laughter, with music that could drown out the shadows looming over their lives. Just before it began, Jake stood backstage, heart racing, and the crowd of faces blurred. Was this the moment where families could heal, where his fractured relationship with his dad might find a way back to redemption? Would this love, this community support, mend the cracks of his life? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue, but as the evening unfolded with songs and heartfelt speeches, beneath the laughter lay a volatile tension. Jake's thoughts spiraled. Would he find a way to bridge the gap between him and his parents? Would their hearts open enough to let him in? As the final notes faded, silence fell. A vacuum of possibility lingered. In that moment, Jake was left with a question echoing in his mind: could love truly heal the wounds laid bare, or were the cracks too deep to mend? The lights dimmed as the last note resonated through the gym, leaving behind a hush that felt thick enough to wrap around Jake like a comforter. But it wasn't comfort he felt, it was a mix of hope and desperation, swirling in his chest like a churning storm. He could see familiar faces in the crowd, each one etched with concern, but tonight, maybe, just maybe, they could also see him. As he stepped out from behind the curtain, adrenaline surged through him. The applause that erupted was deafening, yet he could barely hear it over the pounding of his pulse. He approached the microphone, his palms sweaty and his throat dry. The words he had rehearsed a million times in his head slipped away. It was just him and the crowd. "Thank you for being here," Jake began, his voice shaking. This community center means everything to us. It's a sanctuary, a place where we can grow, laugh, and feel safe. My friends and I, we all need it. His eyes scanned the faces, searching for his parents in the sea of unfamiliarity, longing for a sign of solidarity. Suddenly, he spotted his dad in the back, the same stoic expression on his face that Jake had grown to know so well. Fueled by a surge of emotion, he raised his voice, "I know we all have our battles. Trust me, I get it. My family struggles every day with pain that seems unending. But if we can stand together, if we can fight for each other, we can make this work." A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd, but just as quickly, his dad's expression hardened. An old wound flashed in the veteran's eyes, and Jake's heart sank. Was he only digging the divide deeper? The room around him began to spin as doubt crept in, whispering that he might never reach his father. Before Jake could spiral further, Mrs. Graham, a beloved teacher who had been rallying support behind the scenes, stepped forward. "He's right. This community has always had strength, and we can show it again. Look at how we've come together tonight." Her voice was firm, washing over Jake like a gentle wave. Feeling the fires of unity ignite once more, Jake once again found his courage. "Together, we can save this place. We can build bridges, not only for ourselves but for our families, too." Cheers erupted, and for a moment, Jake believed he saw glimmers of hope kindling in the eyes of his classmates, his friends, and yes, even his father. As the evening progressed, heartwarming stories were shared. Laughter filled the air, yet underneath it all, Jacob felt a familiar tension. His thoughts skittered back to his father's silence. The man was a fortress of unresolved battles, and it left a chill in Jake's heart. Would tonight's victories bring them together, or would they return home feeling more distant than before? The event ended with enough money raised to keep the community center alive. Cheers erupted again, echoing off the walls like a drumbeat of triumph. Jake stood quietly, watching as his fellow students hugged and laughed. Yet, in his core, he sensed that this victory didn't quite settle the unresolved judgments or the hurt between him and his father. As the crowd began to disperse, Jake felt a tug on his shoulder. Turning around, it was his dad. He looked older tonight, the weight of the world pressing down on his shoulders. "Jake," his voice was low, uncertain, but filled with hope. Jake's heart leaped. This could be the moment. But would his father's words about love and healing mean they could finally face the past together? Or would Jake once again have to battle the silence? In that suspenseful wait, the real question loomed larger: could he find the courage to confront both his family's history and his own self-worth? Jake turned to face his father, heart racing, breath catching in his throat. His dad's eyes were a mix of uncertainty and something else, perhaps regret or a flicker of understanding. The moment felt electric, charged with unspoken fears and desires. "Jake," his father continued, voice steadying, "I'm proud of you." The words hung in the air, fragile yet heavy with meaning. Jake felt tears prick at his eyes. It was the first time he had ever heard those words from his father, and they shattered the barriers around his heart, but as quickly as hope surged, anxiety took its place. "But I know I haven't been the dad you needed," his father conceded, his tone heavy with honesty. "It's hard for me to show it, to talk about feelings. I've fought so many battles in silence." Jake searched his father's face, finally seeing the weariness his dad had been carrying, the unseen scars that shaped him. "But you are here now," Jake whispered, the warmth of that truth enveloping him. "And that means a lot." "I'm trying, Jake. I truly am," his father replied, vulnerability creeping into his voice. Maybe I didn't realize how much this place meant to you. I saw it as just another struggle. I thought keeping you safe meant being strong, being quiet." Jake shook his head, feeling the tension crackle between them. "But silence doesn't keep us safe," he said softly. "It creates walls. If we don't talk, if we don't share, we'll never be a part of each other's lives." The crowd slowly began to thin, but inside Jake, the moment felt eternally suspended. He held his father's gaze, searching for a glimmer of acceptance, for a bridge connecting their worlds. "I don't want to lose you, Dad," Jake admitted, his voice breaking. "I want to understand you." His father's brow furrowed, and in that moment, realization flickered in his eyes. "I've lost parts of myself too, Jake," he confessed. "There are days it feels like such a burden. But I want to change. For you." As the last of the audience filtered out, leaving the gym quiet, Jake took a deep breath and stepped closer. "I don't have all the answers. But maybe we can figure it out together. Starting tonight." For a moment, his father remained silent, the weight of the world still heavy on his shoulders. Then, slowly, he nodded. "Okay. I'm willing to try." Jake's heart soared. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it was a starting point, a real connection which had felt impossible just hours before. They stood together in the dim light of the gym, two warriors willing to fight against the silence that had defined them for so long. As they exited into the cool night air, Jake felt a lightness in his step. Their journey was just beginning, and the road would be uncertain, but at least they would walk it side by side. But then, just as the moment of hope settled in his heart, a dark thought crept into Jake's mind: what would happen next time they faced conflict? What if they fell back into old habits, trapped in the shadows of their own history? The question loomed large in his mind, its echo lingering in the air, setting the stage for their next encounter. Could they truly become the men they wanted to be, and would either of them have the strength to stand firm when the world tried to pull them apart again? The night was still, an unexpected calm settling over the two of them as they stepped away from the gym. The stars twinkled overhead, a universe of possibilities stretching out before Jake. Yet, with every step, a flicker of doubt danced in his chest. They had taken a step forward, but would it hold? "Dad," Jake began, the uncertainty in his voice creeping back. "How do we start?" His father was quiet, lost in thought. The path before them felt like uncharted territory, the kind that made their past seem like a worn map filled with potholes and detours. The streetlights cast long shadows as they walked, illuminating the faces of a couple passing by. Jake couldn't help but notice how their laughter echoed the warmth he longed to feel with his father. "Well," his father finally said, breaking the silence. "Maybe we start with something simple. Tell me about your day." Jake felt a fluttering in his stomach. It was so basic, yet he couldn't remember the last time they had engaged in such simple conversations. "It was okay. We lost the match," he admitted, drawing back his shoulders as if that could ease the sting of the disappointment. "But I scored a goal, at least." His father turned to him, a small smile breaking through the clouds of their past. "That's great to hear," he said earnestly. "You took a chance, and you succeeded in your own way. I'm proud of you for that." The warmth of his father's words radiated in Jake's chest, igniting a spark of confidence. "Thanks, Dad," he murmured, his heart racing, feeling a connection he had only dreamed of before. Their eyes met, and in that moment, the space between them didn't feel so cavernous. But as they strolled further down the quiet street, the night tightening around them like an embrace, Jake felt an urge to push deeper, to uncover more layers beneath the surface of his father's stoic demeanor. "What about you? What was your day like?" he asked. His father paused, his eyes narrowing slightly as if searching for the right words. "Just work mostly, a few meetings, the usual stuff. But you know, I've thought a lot about what you said back there, about silence." Jake nodded, urging him to continue. "I never really thought about how holding everything inside affected our family. I thought I was protecting you by being a strong, silent type. But maybe," he hesitated, a shadow crossing his face. "Maybe I've made us both feel more alone." The truth hung heavy in the crisp night air. Jake wanted to reach out, to wrap his arms around this man who had been both a protector and a stranger. "It's okay, Dad. It's brave of you to say that." His father regarded him, eyes glistening with something intangible: regret, hope, possibility. "What if I tried to really listen, to be someone you can talk to?" A grin broke across Jake's face, but the joy in his heart was overshadowed by hesitation. And what if you felt overwhelmed again? What if this moment he gestured between them slipped away, and we found ourselves back in the dark? His father was silent, the shape of his resolve faltering. Then we keep trying, Jake. Just like tonight. No matter how hard it gets. Jake's breath caught in his throat, their path widening as they stepped into an open space bathed in moonlight. He realized this was about more than just them. I guess it's about learning to be vulnerable, huh? It's terrifying. Yeah, his father replied, his voice quaking slightly. But it can also be liberating. As they stood side by side in the moonlight, the challenge of vulnerability hung between them, a mix of excitement and fear. Jake felt a knot of hope yet lingering uncertainty twisted inside him. They were on the cusp of change, yet still so far from achieving the connection they craved. Do you really think we can do this? Jake asked, vulnerability spilling over. Yeah, I do, his father replied firmly. But as they turned to leave the park, the corners of Jake's mind whispered doubts, and he couldn't shake off the feeling that the next challenge would surface soon enough. What if the world twisted their resolve? What if they weren't strong enough? The creeping uncertainties loomed large as they walked away from the bright embrace of the moonlight, two souls bound in their struggle to find light in the darkness. As they stepped off the familiar path, Jake felt the weight of the conversation linger in the air, a fragile thread connecting them. The laughter from the couple they passed echoed like a distant memory, blending with the rustling leaves overhead. Dad? Jake said, his voice cut through the cool night like a knife. Do you think I'm enough? Enough as a son? A player? Just enough? Jake's heart raced. The question slipped from his lips before he could censor it. He felt the air shift, thick with unspoken truths. His father took a long moment, his brow furrowing as he grappled with that powerful question. Jake, of course you are, he finally responded, his voice steady, yet tender. But it's something I've struggled to show you. Jake turned to look at him, searching for the comfort of certainty. But I see all those kids, they are so good at everything. I just wonder if I'm stop, his father interrupted softly, a sudden urgency in his words. Comparison will only pull you down. You have to see yourself through your own eyes, not someone else's. Jake swallowed hard, feeling that familiar knot tighten in his stomach. His father continued, that's what I failed to teach you. I always pushed to excel, thinking it would make you strong. I realize now how important it is to celebrate who you are, just as fiercely. Yeah, but I have so much to prove, Jake insisted, a hint of frustration creeping in. To the team, to myself. And you're doing it, his dad replied, placing a reassuring hand on Jake's shoulder. Every goal is just a piece of the puzzle. You're building yourself up each step of the way. Jake considered this. The idea of being more than the sum of his achievements filled him with warmth. Maybe he didn't need to be perfect. Slowly, a flicker of hope ignited in his chest. What if I mess up again? His father's eyes softened, almost glistening. Then you rise up. You put on your cleats, you hit the field again. That's part of life, Jake. Falling down, but always getting back up. A silence settled between them, thick as the night air. The moon hung high, casting a silvery glow that felt both protective and inspiring. Jake closed his eyes momentarily, taking a deep breath. He could almost feel the weight lifting. Can we do this together, then? Jake whispered. Can we help each other see our worth? His heart raced, a mix of hope and potential. His father paused, releasing a breath as if this were a monumental step. Yes. I want that. I want us to take this journey together. We'll learn from our mistakes and grow. Jake's shoulders relaxed, a smile forming as he visualized the way forward. But doubt drifted in again, creeping silently like shadows. But what if enough with the what-ifs, his father interrupted, a spark of determination in his voice. Let us focus on what is. What is right now. We're here. Together. Let us find a way to talk, to share, to grow. Jake nodded, feeling the undeniable commitment in his father's tone. They had stepped into a new territory, one that was filled with promise but also uncertainty. The ground felt unsteady beneath them, but the shared resolve ignited something powerful. As they moved on, the stars twinkled above them like a roadmap of their own making. A sense of adventure coursed through Jake, but with it came the nagging worry of what challenges lay ahead. How long could they resist slipping back into old habits? The shadows seemed to stretch as they turned the corner, and Jake's heart pounded with anticipation, fear, and excitement. Would they stumble upon their next hurdle? How would they face the truth together? All the while, the weight of unfulfilled expectations clung to him, a silent reminder that the journey was just beginning. The path grew narrower as they walked, the trees closing in like old friends greeting them warmly. Jake felt the subtle shift in the atmosphere, a blend of hope and uncertainty swirling around them. As his father walked beside him, there was an energy there, something almost magical as they navigated this new chapter together. "What's next?" Jake asked, glancing at his dad. "What do we do from here?" His father paused, the weight of the question hanging in the air. "We learn to trust ourselves. It starts with small steps." "Like what?" Jake's curiosity piqued as he kicked a pebble along the path, watching it bounce off the roots of an ancient oak. "Try opening up more, sharing how you feel," his father suggested. "Talk to your teammates. They might be feeling the same things as you." Jake processed this, the idea feeling both terrifying and liberating. "What if they don't understand? What if they judge me?" "Then they're missing out on you," his father replied firmly. "This journey is about discovering who Jake is, beyond the player. It's not always about winning." Jake glanced up, met his father's earnest gaze, and felt a warmth unfurl inside him. "I guess it's about being honest with myself, huh?" "Exactly." His father beamed as they continued walking, the rustic trail now feeling like less of an obstacle and more of a pathway toward growth. With each stride, Jake felt a mix of excitement and anxiety bubbling within. He had played soccer for years, yet standing on the brink of vulnerability felt foreign. "What if I am scared to share?" "That's perfectly okay. Fear is a part of it," his dad reassured him, brushing his hands along the leaves. "The important thing is that you recognize it. Acknowledge it, then let it go. Remember, you're not alone." Jake took a deep breath, savoring the scent of pine and earth around him. "Maybe I don't have to carry everything on my shoulders." "See? You're already starting to see the light," his father replied, nudging Jake playfully. "And when you do feel weighed down, I'm right here. We're in this together." As they walked, a distant shout echoed around them, laughter and cheers drifting down from a nearby field. It was a reminder of the team waiting for him. Would they notice the change in him? Could they accept it? "Do you think the guys will understand when I talk to them?" Jake asked, his voice a soft whisper now. His dad smiled knowingly. "If they don't, then let them miss out on the real you. The right people will appreciate your honesty and support you." With each word, a flicker of confidence sparked in Jake's mind. The idea of speaking up didn't seem so insurmountable anymore. "Okay, Dad. I'll try it. Maybe this is the start of something new." But as they neared the clearing, a sudden swell of anxiety rushed over him once more. What if they rejected him? What if his dad's trust led him to nothing but disappointment? His father seemed to sense his hesitation. He stopped, grabbing Jake's shoulder gently. "Jake, remember, even if they don't react the way you hope, it won't change who you are. You are enough always." Jake blinked at the certainty in his dad's voice, feeling the weight of the moment settle in their shared silence. They stood at the cusp of change, the challenge looming in front of them. Then, a realization hit him hard. Change wouldn't come wrapped in neat packages and ribbons. It was in the messy, beautiful effort of seeking connection and embracing vulnerability. As they stepped into the clearing, the field bathed in sunlight, Jake's heart raced not with dread, but with the thrill of possibility. It felt like a new beginning, even as uncertainty loomed like shadows behind him, but in that moment, another question formed in his mind, nagging him. Could he really transform himself into the person he yearned to be? Would he step into the light of honesty and emerge stronger, or would the shadows still haunt him? They paused, ready to take on the world together, but Jake couldn't shake the feeling of what lay ahead. The next step was about to be taken, but would it be one he would embrace, just as the first? Whispers of freedom danced in the air, a deep breath of anticipation filled his lungs. The journey had begun, but the real test was still waiting just around the corner. As they stepped onto the sunlit field, the cacophony of laughter and chatter swirled around them. Jake could see his teammates scattered on the grass, some kicking a ball back and forth, others sitting in clusters, their friendly banter punctuated by bursts of energy. For a moment, he felt weightless, as if the air around him had shifted completely. "Dad, do I just go up to them?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The idea of crossing over to his team felt monumental, as if he were preparing to leap from a high dive. "Just be yourself," his father said, giving him an encouraging shove toward the group. "Remember what we talked about. You've got this." Jake hesitated, watching the easy flow of conversation among his friends. Could he really barge in with his feelings, his worries? He could hear snippets of laughter, snippets of normalcy, and felt the gnawing sensation of being an outsider. But then again, he was ready for a change. Taking a deep breath, Jake stepped forward. Each footfall felt heavier than the last as he navigated the space that felt both familiar and foreign. But he was determined to find his footing. Each step was a reminder of his intent, to be honest, to connect, to confront his fears. "Hey, Jake. Finally decided to join us?" One of the guys, Alex, called out in a teasing tone. The others turned, smiles flooding their faces, giving him an unexpected rush of warmth. "Yeah, I was just." Jake stumbled, his earlier courage wavering under the weight of everyone's attention. "I wanted to talk to you guys about something important." The group of friends quieted, their expressions shifting from playful to curious. Suddenly, Jake felt the spotlight on him, and panic flickered in his gut. He could feel his heart thudding against his ribcage. "Like, what's up?" Alex urged, tilting his head slightly, giving Jake an opening. Finding his voice was like pulling a thread from a tangled ball of yarn, messy and vulnerable. "I think it's about time I admitted that I've been struggling with the game and, well, everything." The sound of his own voice surprised him, bold and unfiltered. Silence wrapped around them, hanging thick in the air. Jake fought the urge to retreat, to shut down and blur into the background like he had always done. But as he looked around, he spotted familiar faces, concerned yet encouraging. "What do you mean?" another teammate asked, sitting up straighter. The question was genuine, not mocking, and it fueled Jake's courage. "I mean, I keep thinking I'm supposed to be tough. But I'm scared, I feel like I'm letting everyone down. I thought I had to do it all by myself." With each word, relief washed over him, he was shedding a layer of doubt, opening up in ways he never imagined. The guys exchanged glances, some indicators of understanding flashing in their eyes. "Dude," Alex finally responded, his tone light yet serious, "you're not alone in this. We've all felt it at some point, whether it's about soccer or just life." A wave of empathy spread, felt palpable, and Jake dared to lean into that connection. If his friends could share and support each other, maybe he wouldn't have to fight his battles alone anymore. "What if we figured it out together?" Jake suggested, the idea igniting a flicker of hope. "Maybe we can support each other like a real team." "Now you're talking." Another teammate chimed in, laughter punctuating the moment. "How about we start with some practice? We can work on the plays and have a few heart-to-hearts after." He smiled, truly smiled, feeling the camaraderie warm him from the inside. The shadows lurking at the edges of his mind started to fade. This felt right. This felt real, but even as the guys rallied around him, Jake couldn't shake a lingering doubt. Would this moment of connection last? Would they still be there when he faltered again? The fear of vulnerability still loomed, whispering caution at the edges of his newfound joy. Just as Jake began to relax, reveling in the feeling of acceptance, an unexpected silence fell over the group. It began with a low rumble that grew until a figure appeared at the edge of the field, the coach, his expression unreadable. Jake's heart sank, unsure of what this could mean for them all. Was this a setback or another opportunity for growth? What did the coach's arrival signal for the team and for Jake's journey of self-discovery? The coach strode into view, his presence pulling everyone's attention away from their light-hearted teasing. The sun glinted off the whistle around his neck, emphasizing the seriousness etched into his brow. Jake felt a chill creep up his spine, he could practically hear the weight of expectation in the silence. "Listen up, team," the coach called, his voice steady but commanding. "I've been watching your practices, and I see a lot of potential. But potential means nothing without heart. We need to bond as a unit on and off the field." Jake exchanged glances with his teammates, the earlier camaraderie morphing into a subtle tension. They all seemed to sense what was coming next. "Today, we're going to do something different," the coach continued, pacing back and forth, his hands gesturing emphatically. "We're going to have an open discussion about what teamwork means to each of you. It's important we all share not just the wins, but what we struggle with too." A low murmuring spread through the group. Jake could feel his insides twist. The very thing he had just started to share now felt like it might be dragged out in front of everyone. But then, a thought struck him, wasn't this why he had stepped forward in the first place? Wasn't this the chance he had wanted? "Okay," Jake said, surprising even himself with his confidence. "I'll go first." Eyes turned to him, and he could feel the heat creeping back into his cheeks. Taking a deep breath, he let the words spill out, "I've been dealing with a lot lately. School, practice, sometimes it all feels like too much." The room fell quiet again, and Jake pushed through, emboldened by the sincerity of the moment. "I thought if I just pushed through it, I could handle it. But it's exhausting. I was scared to admit that I need help." To his surprise, he saw nodding heads, expressions of empathy lighting up the faces surrounding him. The coach even stepped forward, his gaze softening. "Thank you for sharing that, Jake," he said, his tone more understanding than commanding. "It takes guts to admit when you're struggling. That's the first step to being a true team. You're not alone in this. We'll figure it out together." A murmur of agreement rippled through the group. Jake felt a rush of relief. He hadn't expected to feel this kind of acceptance, especially during a team discussion. One by one, teammates began to share their own struggles, each disclosure seeming to lighten the weight on their shoulders. A few boys spoke about their family issues, while others confessed to feeling the pressure of expectations both from school and sports. Each confession seemed to weave them closer together, creating a tapestry of shared human experience. As they continued to speak, Jake felt a sense of solidarity blossoming among them. This was real. But the coach was not finished. "Now that you've spoken out, let us harness that openness in our practice. We'll work on drills that require trust and communication. That's where the real growth happens." Excited murmurs broke out as the team started to rally their energy. Jake's heart swelled, a blend of hope and renewed determination coursed through him. Perhaps vulnerability wasn't just a source of fear, maybe it was the seed for something extraordinary. Just as they were about to start, the coach raised a finger, silence falling again. "Before we begin, I want you all to remember this feeling. When you're out on that field, you carry this bond. You also carry each other's trust." Jake felt every word deep in his chest. That bond, that trust, it felt like a promise. But as they lined up, adrenaline thrumming, something in Jake's gut began to twist again. There were still fears lurking at the edges. What if he faltered again? Would vulnerability still mean strength, or would it draw him back into isolation? He was sure, but he wouldn't let that stop him from trying. With a final deep breath, Jake stepped forward with his team, ready to embrace whatever came next. What lay ahead was uncertain, but it felt like they were all in it together. Just as they kicked off the practice, the sound of a blaring horn interrupted the moment, freezing everyone in their tracks. Jake turned to see a van pulling up, and two unfamiliar figures stepping out. He exchanged a worried glance with Alex. Who were they? What did their arrival mean? The van's door swung open, and two figures emerged, casting long shadows in the afternoon sun. They stood momentarily, their faces obscured, before one took a few steps forward, revealing a woman with a bright smile. Jake noticed her athletic build and an air of confidence that immediately drew his gaze. "Hey there!" she called out, her voice ringing with enthusiasm. "We're here for the community outreach program. We have some exciting things planned for you guys." The second figure followed closely, an older man, also fit but with a more serious demeanor. He adjusted his glasses, peering at the team with a scrutinizing gaze. Jake felt a knot form in his stomach. What was this all about? Alex leaned closer, whispering, "You think they're here to evaluate us?" Jake shrugged. "I hope not. Right now, we need to focus on our practice, not more pressure." But deep down, the unease simmered. The coach stepped forward, cutting through the team's anxious murmurs. "What kind of outreach? Are we talking about games or training?" The woman grinned widely. "More of a workshop scenario. We want to teach you how to channel your teamwork into community projects. It's about building skills on and off the field." The older man nodded thoughtfully. "But it does take a commitment. You'll need to be open and honest with each other, just like you were in that circle earlier." Jake shifted uncomfortably. It all felt like a little too much too soon. He had only just shared his struggles, and now they were being told to share more, to be more vulnerable in a community outreach program. The coach seemed intrigued. "I like the sound of that. Strengthening your skills through teamwork off the field could be exactly what you need. What do you think, team?" A mix of reactions flooded through the boys, excitement flickering with hesitation. Jake looked around and saw some nodding, some whispering among themselves. Everyone was feeling it, that spark of intrigue and that hint of fear. "What do you plan for us?" Jake blurted out, his curiosity overpowering his doubts. "What do you expect us to do?" "We'll break you into smaller groups," the woman explained, "and have you tackle community challenges. Think of it like an adventure. You'll need to support one another and create something meaningful together." For a brief moment, Jake could see the potential. Transforming their sweat and effort for something greater than just themselves. But what if he couldn't meet their expectations? The coach's voice cut through his thoughts. "All right, if we're doing this, we should start the practice and see how it fits into our routine. We'll be more than just players, we'll be teammates in life. Your bonds will carry you, Jake, but you need to trust your gut too." Jake swallowed hard, the weight of acceptance and purpose livelier in his chest than ever. This was a chance. A chance to be part of something that mattered, beyond the field. But still, he couldn't shake a lingering question. As the conversation continued, Jake's heart raced. What if he failed? What if he let everyone down again? A shadow crept in at the edges of his mind, but he pushed it away, focusing instead on the possibility of doing good. Just then, they heard a distant shout from one of the players on the field. "Hey! Let us get this thing rolling." With that, the team turned back, their faces illuminated with nervous energy. They formed a huddle, ready to break into drills, practicing their trust and communication in tandem. But as the whistle blew and Jake moved into position, the image of those two figures outside lingered. The chance for connection hung in the air, but so did the fear of stepping into the unknown. What would it take for them to truly bond and grow together? Would he find the courage to embrace this new challenge? And could he weave his fears into strength, or would he let them consume him this time? As practice heated up, one thing was clear: the real challenge was only beginning. As the whistle blew and the laughter of teammates filled the air, Jake felt an electric buzz coursing through him. The sun dipped low in the sky, casting a warm golden glow over the field. It felt like magic, like the world was filled with possibilities. "All right, team," their coach shouted, rallying them for the next drill. "This is where we practice not just our skills but our communication. Trust each other out there." Jake took a deep breath, the anxiety from earlier fading into determination. With each kick of the ball, he felt lighter, freer, like he was shedding the weight of his fears. And as he weaved through his teammates, passing and shooting, he felt his heart racing, not with fear but with excitement. After practice wrapped up, they gathered in a circle, sweaty and breathless but filled with an undeniable energy. Jake looked around, noticing that everyone's eyes sparkled with the thrill of achievement. "What an awesome practice!" Alex exclaimed. "We kicked butt out there." Jake chimed in, "Yeah. It really felt like we were all on the same page, you know." The group buzzed with energy as they discussed their favorite plays, and Jake couldn't help but smile. He felt more connected, more seen, and he knew that a part of him was transforming right there before his eyes. Then, prompted by the earlier workshop talk, Jake found the courage to stand up. "Hey guys, before we head out, there's something I want to share. I know we all have our struggles, and I think it's cool we can support each other in more than just soccer." The group quieted, eyes on him, some nodding in encouragement. "I'm learning that it's okay to not be okay sometimes. I struggled for a long time, thinking I had to face my battles alone. But I realized that if we talk and lean on each other as friends, it only makes us stronger." With that, a wave of vulnerability washed over him. His teammates began to respond, opening up about issues they faced, fears they carried, and pressures that weighed heavy. One by one, they shared, and it felt like their bond was solidifying right there in the moonlight. Jake couldn't help but glow with joy. This was their moment, a stepping stone toward transforming their team into something more than just a collection of players. They were becoming a family. As their conversation flowed, laughter interspersed with heartfelt stories, Jake felt a rising sense of belonging. In those moments, he realized that he didn't have to carry all the burdens alone. But deep down, lingering thoughts persisted. What would happen when the season ended? What if they didn't have these moments in the future? Just then, Alex chimed in, breaking through Jake's reveries. "Let's make this a weekly thing. Team talks," he announced, pumping his fist in the air. His enthusiasm was infectious. The others echoed their agreement with cheers and nods. Jake's heart lightened. "Yeah. Let's make it part of our routine. We can support each other, not just in soccer, but in life." As Jake looked around at the faces filled with hope and uncertainty, he felt a surge of pride wash over him. They were in this together. This was no longer about individual success, it was about lifting each other up as a team, as friends. With the evening drawing to a close, Jake felt a quiet determination settle in. He knew there would be challenges down the road, but he was ready to face them. He had friends who were willing to share not just victories but vulnerabilities, battles, and triumphs together. Walking back with his father, the sky painted hues of orange and deep blue, Jake felt a new kind of belonging, a sense of self-worth he had been fighting for all along. "You were amazing out there, Jake," his dad said, pride radiating from his voice. "Thanks, Dad. It felt good. I think we can really make a difference, not just in soccer, but for ourselves too." Jake looked up, and for the first time, he saw approval mirrored in his father's eyes. It felt like all the bonds were finally uniting, something stronger stitching them together. "I'm proud of you for opening up. It takes courage," his father said gently. As they walked toward home, the world felt brighter. Though uncertainty lingered, Jake felt fortified against it. Their tomorrow was unwritten, the path ahead uncertain, but they would face it together. Finally, This was the beginning of a new chapter, a testament that worth isn't only measured by achievements but by connections made through love, understanding, and the willingness to embrace vulnerability. Together, they would keep growing, keep learning, building bridges in the face of the storms life would inevitably throw at them. Jake couldn't wait to see what the future held. Now it's your turn to continue the journey with us. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Comment below your feelings about this ending, let us know what transformed you, and share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share.